to basically, this is where like you have to start very turning the attention back onto itself and looking and seeing where does this I thought arise out of? Where is this I thought coming from? Because it's not there all the time. You believe that it's there all the time. The sense of me, you think that it's there all the time, but it's not. It's not. And that's what I'm saying is you just watch for it. Where does it come from? Because where it's coming from, there's no suffering there.
Yeah.
I thought is the birth of suffering. It's the birth of problems. Therefore, where it comes from prior, there's no problems, no suffering, no unhappiness. That I thought is unhappiness. So when you simply watch where it's coming from and see where's that source, where is it coming from? Where is it coming from?
It's coming from you, the authentic you, I guess.
Yeah, it's coming from your true self. So then simply stay there as the source. Stay there as the nothingness, as the emptiness, where that I thought is arising out of.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the desires take you further away from your true self. There's the I thought, and then the I need this, I need that, I want this, I want that, all this. It just takes you further. When really, if you just rest in your home, you could say, as the awareness, you're happy, you're fulfilled, you're content, you're at peace, you're free. It's only when you leave the house and go out into the world, you can say, now you're creating a lot of problems. You are the problem. You're suffering. You're begging. You're looking for everything that was actually at home. That's the irony of it. At home is everything you are looking for.
Yeah.
But it's you don't realize that it's at home because you never come back home. And that's all I'm doing is guiding you back home and saying, look what's here that you left home. Look what you left. You left everything that you're in search of, the happiness, the peace, the love, the freedom. These four things are not things. They're your very nature. They're not emotions. Love isn't an emotion. Happiness isn't an emotion. Peace it's not emotion. Freedom is not an emotion. Emotions come and go. These things are everlasting because that's actually what you are. It's your true nature. How can your true nature come and go? It's your true essence. How can your essence change, fluctuate, come and go? It can't. And that's what you've left, believing yourself to be a separate entity that's then in search for those things outwardly. So how can you find
you further lost too?
How can you find your home out there? You leave your home and then you think that you're going to find your home out there. You can't. Your home is obviously I'm using it as a metaphor for your true self.
You're just you.
It's you. So it's only when you turn around and you're guided back home, that's what I'm doing with you. And then it becomes very obvious that you have left home and that everything that you're looking for is actually here. That in fact, you've been actually searching for yourself the entire time, but not yourself as your mind-made sense of self, the non-personal self, the universal self. The individual self is the illusionary self that's arising and coming and going and always changing. You need to update it. You need to maintain it. How can that be you if it's always changing and you need to update it? And it takes effort to update. It takes effort to maintain your
Yeah.
self-image. Your self-image is you always change it. Your identification, your ID. You're always updating your ID.
Yeah.
Your story. You're always adding to your story, the role that you play. You're always changing roles. Your personality. You have multiple personalities. Throughout the entire day, you have multiple personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Your beliefs. You're always changing beliefs. How can any of this stuff be you? Now, what is aware of all those things? Because obviously there's something that's aware of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And that which is aware of all those things, well, what about that one? Does that one come and go? Does that awareness come and go? Is that awareness changing? Is that awareness appearing and disappearing? And it's not. It's not appearing and disappearing. It's not coming and going, and it's not changing. And if you just simply rest as that awareness, then you realize that that's what you are. In the silence, in the nothingness, in the emptiness, in the stillness. That stillness, the silence, the emptiness, the nothingness is not separate from you. That what you are actually being aware of is your true nature, which also is the fullness, the completeness, the wholeness, the happiness, the love, the peace, the freedom. And the more you stay at home and taste it, the more it gets sweeter. The more you pay attention to your true nature, the more you could say it grows on you. Because you're not getting distracted running away from it anymore. But if you continue to go outward into the world, it's kind of like the first time I show you it, I guide you back home and go, here, look at, there's your home. You found it now. You're like, oh, wow, I found it. Why did I even leave here? I go, okay, good. Now stay here. Everything that you're looking for is actually here. And you're like, all right, thanks. Thanks for guiding me back home. And the next day, you friggin' bolted out the door and you're back to running out there for stuff. So you forgot what I showed you. And then I catch you the next day out there on the street. Well, what are you doing away from your home? Why are you out here? You're out here like a beggar, begging for something. What are you begging for? Everything that you're begging for, you actually have at home. Didn't you realize it? You're like, oh, you didn't even stay at home long enough to even really let that set in. You quickly like had a relapse and the mind sent you back out. That's how it seems.
It does, yeah.
It's a very good analogy that me as the guide walked you all the way home, held your hand, walked you all the way home, saw you open the door. Okay, now you're at home. Just wanted to make sure you got home safely. And then as soon as you shut the door and I left the driveway, you friggin' come back out. Like, damn it, what do I got to do? I got to board up that door, make sure you don't leave. Why are you back out on the street? It's literally like your home is filled with treasure. And then you go back out there on the street. Please, I need some more money. You're out there like a beggar. Begging when you're rich. You're sitting on treasure. And that treasure is what everyone's looking for. Everyone's looking for the same thing. And it's all at home. The thing is you've at least you've come back home.
Yeah.
So you could say like you're different than most, let's say most people. I got to talk like this. You're different than most people. Most people they were never guided back home.
Yeah.
Most people, it'd be like, hey, can I show you something? Do you want here? Let me guide you. And they're like, get the heck away from me. I'm busy. I'm searching for something. Get off the corner. I'm begging here. Beat it. Find your own corner. I want to show you something. What you're asking for, I'll show you way more. I'll show you the infinite source of what you're looking for, what you're begging for. You're begging for money. abundance, wealth, prosperity, health, happiness, love, peace, joy, completeness, fullness. Let me show you where all that is. It's just down here, down the street. We'll make a left and a right, and you'll be there. I'm like, no, I don't got time for this. That's basically everyone. You at least said, okay, show me. You've got my attention. Let's go for a walk. I only got 10 minutes. So you might as well find, you got to find what you're going to show me here in 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm saying that.
So you gave me 10 minutes and then I showed you, you see this big house, open up the door. And you're like, wow, this key, it actually opens up the door. It kind of feels a little familiar now. And then you got a taste of it. You're like, no. And then you shut the door and then you went back out there. You're back out on the street. That is a trap from the mind. That's a trick from the mind.
Yeah.
It's like everything it's like you open the door, you saw it, you got a glimpse of what's there. And then it's like, shut that door. You got to go back out there. And then it sends you on a mission back out there. And then I'm just doing my rounds, making sure.
Have you been home?
I'm just doing the parole. And I'm saying, hey, I thought we sent you back home. See, I knew you were out here because I got the little ankle bracelet on you now. So I knew you were away from your home. Go back home. There's nothing out here for you. It has to become that clear that there's absolutely nothing out there for you. It has to be so clear that every desire is suffering.
Yeah.
Every desire it's not even that it leads to suffering. Desiring is suffering. Because it takes you away from yourself. What are you desiring? Because your true nature is actually desireless. It's when you're desireless because you're happy. It's like, oh, here, what if I just gave you happiness? Here, what else do you want? Love. Okay, what else you want? Peace. What else you want? Freedom. What else you want? Contentment, fullness, completeness, wholeness. Now, what do you want? You're like, I don't know. You gave me everything. I don't want anything. Exactly. That's the true natural state. It's not even a natural state. I got to say it like that because it's your true nature.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Then you don't want anything. No one can give you anything better than this. It's literally the ultimate gift. There's nothing that can top the gift that I'm giving you right now or showing you. Walking you back is the gift. There's absolutely nothing. But what the mind does, it tricks you. It's like, I don't know. Wasn't that like, I don't know. He said like 4 different things. I felt a little bit of peace. Is because you didn't stay at home enough. Because the longer you stay at home, it's like it really starts it's like you get marinated in it.
Mm-hmm.
You taste it fuller. It really deepens. It just gets sweeter and sweeter the more you taste it. But if you just open the door, oh, wow, it's glowing in here. You shut the door and you're like back on the street. It's like, what did you think all that glowing was coming from? You got treasure all in your house. What are you doing on the corner begging for quarters? It makes no sense. And that's when, like I said, you have to see these things. That's what I'm pointing out. Is because if you can't see it, because it's, again, still delusion. Because when you actually stay at home, there's also a purification. You're also gaining clarity. Your clarity starts increasing and increasing. Your mind becomes more and more pure. So it's less and less diluted. That's why it's like I can take anyone back home, whether or not they stay at home or not. That's another thing.
Yeah.
That's another thing. That's what I said is like to literally like for enlightenment to be possible, it's literally like a love affair. It's a love affair for your true nature. That you got to love that more than you love working on the corner, begging. That's what it is. That's what it
The
is.
rat race.
You're begging for a better job. You're begging for a bigger house. You're begging for a better relationship. You're begging for new friends. Everything's begging.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're resting in your true nature, then it's like you don't leave the house. It's almost like you got a megaphone. Who wants some? Here, and you're like throwing jewelry and gems and diamonds out the doors. Like it's infinite. It's an infinite source. Who wants it? Just come close. Come close and come get it. And then that's when you're getting a taste of it. So then let's say like I'm at home just throwing out the jewelry. Who wants it? It's the transmission, and you're getting a taste of it. You're like, whoa, this is really good. I'm feeling peace. I'm feeling happiness. I'm feeling love. I'm feeling freedom. All from this jewelry. Like you keep on just throwing out the jewelry and the diamonds and the gems. Aren't you afraid that that's going to run out? I'm like, no, it's infinite. It can't run out. And you got the same thing in your home. You don't go home though. You didn't know it's actually at your home. So are you going to sit at my curb on my driveway or on my grass and just continue watching me pass out the jewelry and the diamonds and the gems to you? Or maybe why don't you go home and roll around in your own treasure in your own home? Because the feeling that you're feeling through the transmission is actually your true nature. That's the experience from the master that's enough to inspire, that's enough to light the flame of the seeker, to basically say, hey, feel this. This is what you want. Because up until that point, you didn't know that even existed. Right. Because the mind is always chasing these petty pleasures. It doesn't know true happiness. It's the pleasure of like drinking a Starbucks and it tastes good for the first 2 sips, 2 if you're lucky. But then you start kind of getting bored of it. You go, oh, this type of happiness is always fresh. You can't get tired of it. It's always new. You can't exhaust it. It's like how things just kind of like too much of the Starbucks. You're like, nah, I'm kind of bored of this drink. I don't want it. It tasted good at the start, but now I'm halfway through and I'm like, I don't even like this anymore. Actually, I'm sick of it. It's making me sick. Right? It's like, oh, keg dinner, great. But would you like 2 keg dinners back to back? You're like, no, I don't want that. So this is the thing, that the pleasures, you can only handle so much of them. Mm-hmm. And they're always dependent on something. And there's always like a time restriction. They're only good for so long. There's a start and an end to it. But your true nature is without start and end. And it's not dependent on anything. And it's a supreme happiness in comparison to the pleasure. It's infinitely better. It can't even be compared. And that's what you didn't know that before. Most people don't know about that. So it's like you've only experienced that pleasure, and then I just came around and being like, hey, boom, what about this? Blast you with the peace. And you're like, woof, what was that all about? I didn't even know about that. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it like that experience? Is you're like,
yeah, it did.
You're like, holy shit, what is that?
Yeah.
That's like an alien type of thing. Like that's out of this world.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. It literally blew your mind. You're like, whoa. And I'm saying, well, you got one of those back home too. But you don't even know where you live. So let me do you a favor. Let me show you where you live. Let me walk you back home so you don't get lost. Let me point out to all the houses on the street. Let me show you that that's not your house. That one, not yours. That one, not yours. That one, not yours. And then you realize where your house is. And you got a little taste of it because you like stepped in the door. You're like, honey, I'm home. You open the door, you step in, you get blasted with some peace, some happiness, some love, some freedom. But then you're so quick, you shut the door and the mind's like, get back out there. You gotta hustle, grind. You gotta.
It's like Danny DeVito voice.
You gotta work your way up in the status. You gotta become something. You gotta go somewhere. What do you mean? Rest at home? You got places to go, people to see, something to become. But that's the thing, is that becoming is actually takes you away from yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're the
then
being.
It's tied to James. Yeah.
You're the being. Becoming something that means you're being something you're not. But the mind doesn't understand that, because what you are is nameless. It has no shape. It has no form. It doesn't have a certain look. It can't be described. It can't be defined. So that's where the mind always, well, why don't you just be this? You want to become this, then try and look like that image. Here can be how you define yourself. Here can be your story. Here, your role, so everyone knows who you are.
So rigid.
Yeah, it's so rigid. Where exactly
How
that's
can it
the
be
thing,
Yeah.
is actually it's so rigid because you've created a box for yourself. That box is prison.
I literally compare it to, when I think of those things, it's like when you play a video game. It's just like, then you realize, like, no matter how far you go, it's like not getting you anywhere actually in the video game. And when you actually like the video games, when you don't care about any of those things.
That's right. That's your true nature, is not minding. It's not really not caring. It's you don't mind.
You don't mind it, yeah.
You don't mind what happens. You don't mind what people think. You don't mind if you get the job or you don't get the job. You don't mind, because it's like you're realizing that it's just a game.
Yeah.
It's like you realize that it's just a game, that you're not actually the character. When you believe yourself to be the character and you're like, all right, there's a lot on the line here because I'm going to die. Basically everything is coming to that. I got to get a big house. Why? Because blah, 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 or I'm going to die. But then you come back home and you realize that you're like, you can't die because you never were born. And then, then it's different. It's totally different. Then the life from there on out is a complete play. It's a complete play.
Yeah.
There's no seriousness to it. There can't be. How can you take the character serious anymore when you see through that the character is just an illusion?
You can't.
That it's just all built up and created, and it changes. It comes and goes. It's all based off of karma and conditioning. And then you're like, it's like, it's literally like, again, like that dream model, like, oh, I'm dreaming. Like, whew. Right. But it's not the dream character that wakes up, that realizes that it's dreaming. It's not the dream character that's walking around in the dream is like, oh, good thing I woke up. It's never like that.
No.
It's the one outside the dream that wakes up. Oh, this is just a dream. But that one outside is not a physical body that you might be imagining. There's no bigger version of you that looks the same as this. It's outside.
It's a giant.
In some other reality. That's where like a lot of people might think that, like, yeah, maybe like I'm the avatar one here. So you are the avatar, the avatar of God, the avatar of the universe. Just like in social media, the avatar is just an expression of the real one. Let's say the real one, like you on the other side of the keyboard, that the emoji guy The avatar just expresses you. You're like, oh, let me dress them up, change them. It's exactly like that. This is the avatar of the one being. That's your
Yeah.
true self.
Yeah. I can't imagine it. Like
You
I don't
can't.
try to.
You can't.
There's too many things
Imagining
it
it
could
is
be.
actually an obstacle
Yeah.
because then you're trying to, you can't. You might as well just, that's when you give up. You have to give up imagining it.
Yeah.
You have to
Well,
give
because
up
when you're being it,
trying.
then you know. But like you won't know it when you're looking at it thinking you're something else.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're looking in a mirror and then you're like, oh, you can't tell the two apart. But when you start to think that
Yeah.
is you, uh, instead of actually thinking the person on this side's you. It's
Yeah. Basically, it's all counterintuitive. Like it's all counter thought, counter thinking.
hmm
That it's like I guided you home. Now you know where you live, and I'm now pointing out, hey, you keep on leaving home. What the heck? I told you to stay at home, and you keep on leaving home. You're like, busted. He caught me, right? Because you know
yeah,
you're leaving. You know you're leaving home, right?
yeah. I
So
guess so.
you know that I'm seeing you out there on the street. Obviously, it's a huge analogy, but you know what I'm talking about. You're leaving home, that you're leaving your being, and you're getting so identified with the activity of the mind, which is all
Yeah.
the doing. And you get lost again. You've left home and you got lost. And I've come around, I come into my patrol car and I say, all right, get in. Let me take you back home again. Now stop leaving home because everything that you want is right here. Now, what do you need to do at this point?
Uh,
What do you need to do to stay home?
Need to be marinate. You have to marinate.
Okay. What's like
With
another way of
yourself.
saying that? What do you need to do to be at home? What do you need to do to stay at home?
You have to let go of what's outside.
Yeah, let go of what's outside. Stop. It's like the stop going out. The
That's
going
all.
out is the doing. The
Yeah.
identifying is the doing. The believing that something better out there is the doing.
hmm
Because there's still a belief that there's something better out there. But there's a belief that there's something better out there because you actually haven't familiarized yourself with your home. You haven't looked around yet. It's like I showed you where you live. You opened the door, you walked in, but it's like you're just on the mat on the other side of the door. I'm saying like look around. Stay there for a while, look around, get familiar with your home, and then you start basically look into all the rooms and see that they're completely loaded with treasure. But if you open your door and you're like, la, you open the door of heaven and you basically get the glow from all the treasure, but you don't really know what's there because you haven't even turned on the light yet. You don't really know. You've left your home for such a long time that you totally forget what it's like. That's where you have to stay at home. Turn on the lights, walk around, look at the rooms, get reacquainted with your home.
hmm
And that's what's needed is basically to stay at home, which is a non-doing, that
Yeah.
you're just simply resting at home. The nature of your mind is to basically go out there. It's like, all right, get your boots, get your coat, let's go. Wait, hold on, come on back. It's cold outside, get a scarf. Now let's go. Right? But I'm saying don't leave home because there's nothing out there that's better than what you have at home. But you believe that there is something better. And that belief stays there until you actually experience that no, what you have here is actually way better. That's the only way. That's literally the only way. It's called dispassion. You become dispassionate about the world, not meaning that you hate the world, It just means that you're not attached to it, that you're not craving what everyone else is craving. Everyone's craving alcohol and drugs and sex and shopping sprees and all this type of stuff. But because you're literally getting high on your own supply, you're on the premium grade. So you don't want to even mess around with any of the low class stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly like people who try a drug and then they're on it for a little bit and then they try something better. When you've tried something better, you don't want to go back to the old stuff, the weak stuff. No way. I want the premium stuff. I'm willing to pay even more for the premium stuff because it's superior to that. When you realize that what you actually have at home is superior to anything out there,
Mm-hmm.
infinitely better, you don't mess with it. You basically just start turning it down. No, you want it, keep it. Here, you want some, I don't want this. Does anybody else want it? And people kind of think you're crazy. Like, what? You're going to pass it up? Because they don't know that you're on the premium shit.
Yeah, it's true.
And
Bothers them.
that's literally the only way. Because you're getting such a taste of your true nature that it literally feels like you are on the premium. And that's where you go, shit, does anybody else want this? It's premium and it's infinite. Does anybody else want this? And they're like, what is that? They don't even know. What? No way. It's better than this? No way. And they're like, no way. You're lying. You're lying. You've got unconditional happiness, an infinite source, a happiness for no way. Too good to be true. Sorry. I'm not into believing that. And you're like, no, it's not a belief. Try it. And they're like, no. In fact, they actually get a little angry because their happiness is always conditional on something. Like, what? You're happy for no reason? Like, fuck you. I got to work for my happiness. Look at you coming over here all poshy, showing off in your premium happiness for no reason, rubbing in our face. Get out of here. Go back up there to the hill in your mansion. That's how people literally see it. But you're like, no, it's what I'm talking about. The source of this unconditional premium happiness is actually within you. You're like, what? In me? Where? Yeah, right. Like, no, like, give me 5 minutes and let me show you. You're like, no, get away from. What are you, Jehovah's Witness? Get out. I'm not into that stuff. No way.
Witness.
You try to brainwash me? Yeah, brainwash you into being happy. Yes. It's silly when you think about it, but like I said, that's the only way. You have to basically stabilize in your true nature, and you can only stabilize in your true nature by remaining as your true nature. If you're always running out there, how can you possibly get to know what you really are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks, Mitch. You showed me what I really am. Thank you. I'm back out there, back to the grind, hustling on the corner. It's like, no, you didn't really get familiar with it. Because it's one of those things. It's like, what do they say? Like, oh, it's like a good book. It grows on you or whatever. That song's really growing on me. Like it's like you need to sit and listen to that silence more. It grows on you. Sit in the stillness. It grows on you. Simply be aware of your 5 senses. Be aware of the breath. All of the awareness, you're just simply being more and more aware. And you start to stabilize, which then you can start being aware of the awareness. And being aware of the awareness, like I said, it gives you this restfulness where you're like, why would I try and put out so much effort for something that is whatever 1,000 times cheaper than this premium grade?
Yeah.
It's total backwards to your thinking. That people think the harder I try, then the more happiness I'm going to get. which is what I'm saying is, watch this. Stop trying and you'll get an infinite source of happiness. And you'll only leave this infinite source of happiness by trying. But the mind only knows doing. The mind is doing activity. That's what the mind is doing activity. All thinking is doing. When you say I'm thinking, well, that's a doing. And what I'm saying is, stop doing and just be. It's the simplest thing, the easiest thing, but also at the exact same time, because it's such a paradox, everything with enlightenment is paradoxical. It's also the hardest thing.